Fingers crossed all the audio works okay. We're online on Facebook and we're waiting for Twitch and YouTube. So, Lucy, how have you been dealing with is this the first or second week of real serious lockdown?
Oh, is this the second week? I think it's the second week. Yeah, so honestly my life isn't that different. I spend all my time at home anyway. But it just does take a little bit of a psychological toll, even subconsciously, I think. So it slowly chips away at us. So I think even if anyone out there is feeling pretty good about lockdown and everything and working from home and that sort of thing in general, still try to proactively look after your mental health and involve self-care and other activities you enjoy, because it can sort of subconsciously get to you. How about you?
Yeah, I think that I love being locked down, but I'm gonna say this week I've started to go a bit stir crazy. Hey, yeah, I think I've actually especially today, I just want to go outside, which is bizarre because normally I never want to go outside. But it's one of those things that the second that lockdown ends, I'll walk outside and I'll be like, nah, fuck that, and I'll walk back inside. So, oh, hey Devin, hey Stephen, hey Peter. Who's 403 error? I forget every week.
Every week I forget too.
It's Tom. I think it's Tom. Yeah.
Great. Welcome back, Stephen. I don't think you were with us last week. Or were you? Hello, COVID survivors. Love that comment. Hello, Peter Atkinson. I'm sorry you didn't get to go to Byron Bay. I think you mentioned that previously. What a bummer.
Okay, while we start the feed, let's have some predictions. When do you think we're going to be out of lockdown, Lucy? Take a guess. It's pure speculation. All of us are going to be about as right as everybody else. Yo, Jesse.
What's up, Jesse? Jesse B. Bussin, such a cool name.
Lockdown predictions.
Alright, it's 13th of July today. Knowing Delta may have a longer period of being contagious, right? It might not be 2 weeks, it could be longer, right?
I think so. I think the Delta variant, I don't know if there's any science to back that up, but I think the Delta variant is going to have up to 15 or 16 days incubation time. Julian says 2 months. Nathan Waters says December 20.
That's a call. That's a serious call, Nathan.
That's a big one.
Sarah.
I'm going to say August 16th or 17th. That's optimistic.
All right, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5 weeks away. What? 5 weeks? 5 weeks of you and me already going stir crazy. I'm gonna say, look, I also think this is gonna go on for a really long time, but I think things are gonna, maybe restrictions will ease a little bit. I'm gonna just for fun say early August, because I have an event thing that I want to go and do then. I've booked in to record a song with a producer, and it was meant to be tomorrow, but we've moved it to early August, so I'm hoping that's when we predicted it might end.
Hopefully you have an ability to be able to change it. A big shout out. Hi, Catherine. Are you in Australia at the moment? If so, I'd love to hear about how Australia and the UK and America, because I know you've been traveling during COVID, is a bit different. There is an added benefit as well that Sarah just made mention of, which is that even though we're locked up, we do get to escape a lot of family commitments. So every cloud has a silver lining. There's pros and cons to being locked down and not being able to see anyone. And one of those is not feeling bad about escaping commitments you didn't want to be a part of. Have you used COVID as a lockdown, COVID as an excuse to get out of a social engagement, Lucy?
Yes.
If you want to put in the comments your best excuse or best way you've used COVID to escape a social gathering, I would love to know. Catherine, did you go into quarantine when you traveled? I think I remember seeing that you did.
July 2022 is when she predicts we'll come out of lockdown.
Now, Catherine makes some amazing art. She's had multiple Kickstarters which are wildly successful. If she wants to post a link in the chat, I'd love to be able to share some of her artwork with some of the people. Are there any comments that you can see, Lucy, that are that you'd like to read out?
Yes, I would like to read the quick one about is my mic being used. Thank you, Stephen. I will check that now. Is my mic being used? Let's see. Yeah, USB audio codec. I think so. So sorry about that. No, Eileen says fantastic audio. I'm not sure then. Sorry. So yeah, let's read out. Jesse really enjoyed your status that you made the other day, Meow. And for those who didn't see it, would you like to tell them what that was about?
Yeah, broadly we were talking about the fact that there was 4 exceptions for the lockdown in New South Wales. So apologies to anyone who's overseas because this might not be super relevant. But basically, you could leave the house for 4 things, which was basically get groceries, go for a walk, visit someone if they were in need, like mental health, or get your groceries. I think that was like the 4 things. But they also said you could visit partners that weren't with you. Now, they said you could visit your girlfriend or boyfriend, but they didn't say anything about like, what if you have more than one? So we had a big discussion about what the law might be around that and how people might navigate it, because you can't actually see family members if they don't live with you, unless it's for compassionate reasons. So navigating that as a polyamorous person must probably be quite difficult.
I think so. That's yeah. I don't know what to say about that. What's a choice? Do you have to choose your favorite partner? Is that what happens?
That's right. So basically, you have to weigh up the pros and cons. Most poly people like to multi-class. So they might have, a partner that's a chef, a partner that's good at board games. And basically, as a poly person, you have to make a decision about, like, which one's most important to be bunkered down with. Because, poly community actually presents serious risk for being vectors, because you can have multiple extended networks of polyamorous people that are all dating each other that kind of clandestinely could be visiting each other and could actually create, some strong resistance. Now, also, Nathan said that they don't want to let the lockdown stop until we've got 80% vaccination. I don't think we're going to get 80% vaccination.
No, that's really high hopes. I don't think 80% of Australia will want to be vaccinated. It's not even the case of getting the vaccinations out. I don't think everyone's going to. I don't think we'll get to 80% at all.
Now, Catherine's also said that the UK was crazy. 8 months of lockdown, which we're just 2 weeks in. I couldn't imagine 8 months. The USA wasn't locked down, which is the other thing that a lot of people have actually been pushing for. But in LA, 1 in 9 people had the virus. So if you're out with 10 people, she said that 1 of them would have it, which is terrifying.
Wow. And guys, love the comments coming through crazy today. We can tell you're in lockdown with us. That's really awesome. We're doing this together. Welcome, Pranav. Have you heard do you know what polyamory is? And Stephen says, do you really think that you have to explain to the government that what your relationships are? Couldn't you say you're visiting a partner and leave it at that? Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, I'm not sure. Someone has to test that theory. Sam says, I flew from China to Sydney when China began the lockdown in January. Really, Sam? And January 2020, and I flew back in the middle of March 2020 before lockdown kicked off in Sydney. Have been here in Shenzhen ever since. Was the best decision ever. Look, Sam, from my friends who are over there as well, it just seems like they're having a great time being out and about. China has fantastic regime for tracking where people go and getting people to isolate and check in, and fantastic delivery services. So I totally agree. I actually believe China's a great place to be throughout all of this as well.
I'd agree with that. Having things like China where they have, completely integrated things like WeChat where you can kind of order anything you need is really awesome. Like, I've been trying to navigate the different options like DoorDash and Uber Eats groceries, and it's crazy because, like, when I shop at the IGA, I can't get a whole heap of stuff that the convenience stores sell. So I could get croissants, but I couldn't get bread from the IGA because Uber Eats has an agreement that you have to order the bread from a convenience store. And the thing is, it ends up costing you a whole bunch in fees, which means they want you to subscribe to their buy our monthly subscription and don't pay delivery fees thing. And the whole thing is, it ends up becoming this nightmare of like labyrinthine decisions to just get some bread delivered. And then I end up just giving up and eating 2-minute noodles.
Fantastic. And I love this comment quickly from Pranav. In India, 80% vaccination is hell nah. Pranav, is it the same in India that also some people don't want to get vaccinated? Or is it just like that in like Western countries? And I agree, I've been looking at that membership delivery option now and going, oh, do I get it? Oh, is it time? But you haven't gone over to that option yet, have you?
So no, I'm basically trying to make do with everything that I got before we locked down. So I'm being as creative as possible. I tried to fill my freezer and stuff like that, but I was optimistic about how long the lockdown would last, and that was reflected in my shop. Now I'm waiting for payday, and I've gotten one delivery so far with Woolworths Online. Now, Jesse said, add the vaccination to the water supply. Now, this is not actually a bad idea. When we want to vaccinate animals, for example, chickens, one of the things they do is they actually put live vaccine into the water supply. So there are some vaccines that can work like that. There's other options of putting vaccine into foods. So you can make genetically engineered plants that contain the vaccine, which is a really cool way, but it doesn't always work for all diseases. So some of them you have to extract it from that and put it into a syringe and stuff like this. But there are some really exciting ways of doing it. One of my friends, Alex Hoekstra, made a nasally delivered vaccine called Radvac, which comes in the little, those little nasal spray bottles that you kind of put up like that? Yeah, he puts his vaccine in that. And George Church and some people overseas actually went and tried this, and supposedly it works. One of the cool things about this is that it delivers the vaccine to the back of the nostril, which is where the virus initially takes hold. So the idea is if you can vaccinate that kind of area, maybe it would have some added benefits. But I think what we're finding now is that the more vaccines we have, the better. Now, this is a protein subunit vaccine, which we haven't really seen any countries roll out. So it's an interesting kind of like addition to the landscape of vaccines.
And last week you taught us that there's protein subunit vaccines, there's DNA vaccines, and mRNA vaccines. Did I get A+?
That's right, A+. You've done your homework, Lucy, and we're seeing the battle of the battle of the DNA and the RNA vaccines now, with a big push from the Australian government to use the DNA vaccine, which is the we call that the AstraZeneca in Australia.
Wow. Now let's go quickly to comments. They are rolling in. And I think that Pranav was saying, that people in India, some of them don't feel great about the government, so they also don't want to get vaccinated. Elian says India will be a nightmare to vaccinate. There are lots of remote areas and small villages, of course, you're right. Jesse says people won't get a level of serious until bodies start piling. Ooh, and that comment's gone, sorry. Closed eyes open. Closed eyes open, I always forget which user you are. Can you remind me who you are? Woolworths Online, make like 15 lists. Bam. And Pranav also says, here everyone doesn't have the internet too, so vaccination is like that too. It takes a lot of time to vaccinate the whole population. And Sunil, welcome Sunil. How does the DNA one work? Is it like a vectored vaccine? And do you want to go into that?
Yeah, so just briefly, with the DNA one, we basically get a circular piece of DNA called a plasmid that contains the instructions to produce the mRNA, but we get your body to make the mRNA. And the way it's delivered is generally inside a replication deficient virus. So it uses the way a virus normally gets into cells, and then instead of delivering the viral information, it delivers just the plasmid, which has the spike 2 protein encoded on it. So it's kind of like it uses all the same things as the virus, except it only contains the instructions for one part of a different virus. It's a really clever way of doing it. The thing is, your body makes antibodies against that vector. So if you're using, we'll call it the Meow-Dino virus, you would never be able to get another vaccine that uses that Meow-Dino virus as a vector, because your body would recognize it as being an intruder. So this is one of the problems with the DNA vaccines, is that it limits your ability to use them again in the future. This is one of the reasons I'm a bit hesitant to go with the DNA vaccines, is because I want a lot of gene therapy in the future. And I don't want my body to make antibodies against that, because I think I can think of some gene therapies that will extend my life longer, like telomerase.
Can you explain that a little bit more for us? So DNA vaccines, because of the vector, they will prohibit your body from getting further changing your DNA in the future, because they start to recognize that vector as like a bad thing.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah, so basically what we do is with vaccines is we chuck something that's not inside your body into your body, then we stimulate the immune system. Then the immune system goes looking for things that shouldn't be there. Now, it finds the spike 2 protein, which we've put in there, but it also finds the thing that carried the instructions for that in there. Now, with the mRNA vaccine, it goes in using a thing called lipofectamine, or basically a little bubble of fat. The body recognizes that as being self. It thinks, oh, that's meant to be there. But if it's inside a virus, any viruses that are present when we stimulate the immune system, the body is also going to make an immune response to. So it will get the vector and the product, if that makes sense. The thing that delivers it and the package will both have antibodies made against it, which makes them worse in the future. Now, I'm going to put a big fucking caveat in here for this. I went and did some reading, and maybe it's not as bad as I thought. 80% of the vaccines will still work with this. And there's you can change where the vaccine is put. So if we have an intramuscular one, we could put it somewhere else in the body and it wouldn't necessarily cause the same immune reaction. So it's not as big an issue. It's only things that weirdos like me really care about, right? There's a few really bizarre edge cases that I'm particularly concerned about because I want to do really weird things.
I love that you want to do really weird things, and I think that we're all really interested in you doing really weird things.
Yeah, so and on that note, we've been making good progress with the RNA vaccine. So we've got pretty much a complete plan for how we want to do it, and we're waiting to see whether it's worthwhile us going now. It costs us about $10,000 to $15,000.
That seems pretty cheap.
Very cheap, and it's crazy that the Australian government isn't keen on doing this. The iteration cost is tiny.
Wow, is this the same company that you've been creating your tests with?
That's right. So that'll be with Moth. Yeah. But we're looking at how do we rapidly turn this into vaccines for all sorts of things, particularly agricultural diseases. Because one really good thing that COVID has done is injected tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars into the medical devices sector. That's for diagnostics and vaccines. In 10 years' time, we're going to see a blossoming of the most amazing diagnostics and vaccines. We'll see vaccines for cancers. We'll see diagnostics for things that are very, very difficult for us to find now. We saw a similar thing in the year 2000 with DNA sequencing, and it often takes a really audacious project or a big crisis to cause a lot of money to flow into these things. So unfortunately, we're in a pandemic, but the benefit is we're going to see great, amazing molecular biology tools come out of it.
Molecular biology tools coming out of the pandemic. What a silver lining. That's so cool. And welcome, Angela, as well. And I just want to quickly mention Jesse, Sunil, Angela, if you guys feel like creating a Twitch account and moving across to Twitch and following us there or interacting with us there, that would be really cool. And you can just do that on your computer or download the app and create an account. That would be really awesome. We stream every Tuesday night. And I was just laughing a little bit to myself, Meow, when you were talking about the plasmids. I was thinking of that video game Bioshock where they have plasmids and you just go in this game. You sort of have a thing called the plasmid, it's a needle, and then you inject yourself with superpowers. So
I'm actually playing Bioshock for the first time right now, and I love it. It's really cool. I love the aesthetics, and it's really interesting to see how people have imagined these plasmids, because they work kind of like this. They're kind of like a cool little add-on that you can change. So it's really cool to see an artistic interpretation of that.
Oh, that's so cool. So you're playing the first one, right? in the later games, they decided that, or people complained that the whole, aggressively injecting yourself with the needle was actually too full on. So in the later games, I think you're just doing something so boring.
I think that it's reasonably realistic injecting a big thing into you. So that's hilarious. Now, I'm just going to quickly just catch a couple of things. Can you get gene therapy to implant chloroplasts or something so we can photosynthesize? Potentially, yes. One of the things we have to be a bit careful, though, is there's a way that we can look for what our body looks as being immunogenic. So plants would probably be quite immunogenic. And the reason for this is they're very, very far away from us on the evolutionary tree. That means that they're likely to look very alien to our cells. So our immune system would probably think that it's not us when we put it in there. And that means you could be at risk of autoimmune conditions if you do things like putting chloroplasts inside your body or floating around your cells. So that's one thing to be very careful of. And I didn't realize, because I was like, I want to glow like a jellyfish. Now, there is one exception.
You have been saying that.
No, there's one exception, which is the eye. So if you want to see like who has cool eyesight, a mantis shrimp, you can actually inject gene therapy into your eye and there's no immune cells in your eye. So you can do whatever you want in there and there's no chance of any rejection.
There are no immune cells in our eyes. So how do, when people have eye infections and things like that, how's that been handled?
If it's in your eye, you're stuffed. You're going to have to treat it with medication. Yeah. Now I'm just going to. Now Julian made a comment about how easy is it to do tests on effectiveness of COVID as a medication. So I'm just going to quickly cover this a little bit. So there's ways we can test that's ethical, and there's ways that we can test that's not ethical. So I'll cover a couple of the ways that we do testing for diagnostics. So when I'm using my COVID tests, which would be very useful now if we could commercialize, if we could get through TGA, we get a copy of the RNA. Now, the RNA is the instructions for the virus, but it's unwrapped from the virus, so it can't infect you. There's a very, very remote chance if you got a syringe and injected it into someone, you could infect them, but the RNA on its own is not infective, right? So I test on that in the lab, and that's quite expensive. It costs about $2,000 for a sample, but that can be tested on thousands of times. You can infect human cells with coronavirus, but you need a very, very hardcore lab for that. It's a PC3 or PC4 lab in Australia. There's only a handful of them. That can be done, and you can test medications to see whether it inhibits the replication of COVID inside human cells, but that's really difficult to do. Like, you need to be a university or a hospital to get that kind of license. Then there's the not so legal ways or conventional ways of doing it, which is if you live in a country with huge amounts of people can test on themselves generally, and that's legal. So you could ask people if they wanted to try this, and I would not recommend this, especially not publicly, but there's nothing really stopping people from testing on themselves.
That's awesome. Love that comment from Matt. It's gone now, but the glowing eyes would be great for raves.
Definitely. Putting some GFP in your eyes would be fantastic. And there's a lot of people who've been looking at GFP tattoos for a long time. I'm just going to quickly speak to Sunil about the AZ vaccine. The AZ vaccine?
No, the
glowing eyes?
Yeah.
You can come sit over here if you want to jump in.
I don't have a shirt.
Put it on. You'll bet it's on our stream. So just quickly, AZ, I'm a little bit more in favor of the AstraZeneca vaccine now, especially seeing that we might be stretching this out for a really long time, right? We might be locked down for a long time, and it might be a way for us to get out. Honestly, you're going to be safe if you get the AZ vaccine. But still, 1 in 100,000 to 1 in 1 million people are going to get a blood clot, and you have a chance of dying. If I was in charge of public policy, I would say, don't do it. If I hadn't already had my first shot of Pfizer, I'd be getting the AZ vaccine now. I'm not going to recommend other people. I'm not going to recommend other people do it. This is Sarah, my girlfriend.
Hello, how are we all? I just wanted to jump in because I would be really interested in getting a GFP tattoo.
Yeah, you want glowing tattoos?
Yeah.
And you've got lots of tattoos now.
See, I only have black and grey because I don't really want colour. I don't really want colour because, both of everything. sometimes I don't want to be mismatched for whatever future outfits I want to wear.
We have to celebrate because we just got 100 messages. Woo!
Oh, that's how you clap in Auslan. Hello, who is Chuckleberry?
I'm not sure who Chuckleberry is.
Chuckleberry,
would you get a GFP tattoo, Lucy? Do you have any tattoos?
Which can we see your Well, I just put a jacket on.
Show your arm.
Oh yeah, okay.
The voice is off.
Yeah, sorry. You guys just went a bit robotic, so I'm not sure if I'm a bit delayed now.
Oh, okay.
Welcome, Sarah. I have no tattoos. But let's look at Sarah's tattoos.
slow.
I've got my ears.
Sarah's got one, and it's a spider coming out of your armpit. Oh my god, that was crazy. Oh yeah. The video's freezing a bit, but
Video's freezing lots.
Yes, let's get a close up of that. Oh.
So would you get a glowing tattish gene tattoo, Lucy?
Didn't you just say it was okay in the eyes, but not okay in the body or on the skin? But I have no piercings or tattoos or anything at all, and I don't wear jewelry. I don't like things. I don't like things. I don't know.
She's a blank canvas.
A
which
blank
means
canvas.
Once a really cool ideas come out, Lucy's all ready to go.
Fantastic.
What about, do you know that artist? There's an artist in Melbourne that I showed you. I think it's UV they put in the tattoo.
Yeah.
That's very different, isn't it?
Well, it's not biological. So it might cause inflammation, but it's unlikely to cause a proper immune response like a virus or something. But also at the same time, we don't know a lot of this stuff. We haven't been injecting components. Now, interestingly, in the last 2 years, someone actually injected themselves with magic mushroom spores, and it actually be really careful with doing some of this stuff. I thought it was a lie. Oh, grab that.
You don't need your mouse, do you? The dog just knocked that.
They can't hear why I haven't got the shift button. Push down, I think. I think an octopus tattoo would be interesting. So I'm really interested in tattoos that are...
A bit of that, and then you guys have frozen again.
Sorry, the dog knocked the mouse.
It's freezing on my end. Let me know.
Can you see me now? Let me know when you can see me again, Lucy. Are we still here? Can you hear us?
You're sort of coming in on the
Okay. Let's have a look.
So to answer your question, Matilda is I was going to say Jack Russell. Italian Greyhound. We have two. You may remember, the OG viewers may remember her sister spewing in one of the episodes.
I don't know if it's still coming through. Just be careful because I have to hold down shift when we talk. Can you guys hear us again? Is it working?
Spacey, am I depression?
Lucy, do you can you talk a bit? Oh, there we go. I think we're back. We're still here. So yeah, I'm saying that. Oh, yep.
Yeah, I think you're back. And if I don't. Sorry. Oh, if I can't hear you guys carry on. Sorry. Yeah, I'm back. I think we're all back. I mean, surely injecting yourself with a fungus probably isn't a great idea, even if it's a magic one. That's right.
Definitely.
We don't really have any things to fight against fungus in our body as well.
It's probably especially one, Lucy.
Yeah. Now, because they're active in the body, we know they're active. Now, Stephen wants to human medicines.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So just quickly, testing on animals generally isn't the best thing. Like realistically, we want to test on human cells. A funny story, my old, the Dean of Science, Merlin Crossley, while I was studying at UNSW, I was doing some fantastic work inside of knockout mice, where they would knock out different genes and see how the mice behaved differently or grew differently or got different types of cancer and all sorts of things like that. And my teacher was, Kevin Morris, was working on human cell cultures, but not whole humans, right? Just flasks full of human cells. And he actually said very publicly in a meeting to the dean, "Why are you trying to cure cancer in rats? Why shouldn't you cure it in humans first?" And he was fired not long after that.
That is so funny. Love that drama in the science world. Right, so is it just the case that mice or rats are really easy to keep and use, or because I understand we can also use like it's like yeast or something also acts like human cells if we wanted to test on human cells?
Oh, that's gross, Lucy.
What, is that yeast?
Yeah, I don't want to think I'm a bit of yeast.
No, it's good. Yeast are good. So yeast are kind of like little animals. They're fungi, right? But fungi are very much like animals. Like fungi are more like animals than they are like plants. So the biggest things is fungi eat other things. Plants make their own food, and also plants store their energy as starch. But we store our energy as glycogen. Fungi, including yeast, also store their energy as glycogen. So they're actually really like animals. But there's a lot of difference, right? The thing is that the quicker and cheaper it is to work with something, the more we can learn quickly. So we can learn some stuff broadly about metabolism from yeast that applies broadly to animals. Now, rats and mice have the same genes as a human, basically, right? About the same amount with a lot less junk DNA. But a rat goes from born to geriatric in 2 years. Yeah, scientist's career, they could study 15 generations. With humans, we can only study 1 generation at a time. So this is why animal models become useful. The way that kind of falls down, though, is that they aren't humans. They age more quickly, so and they're prone to cancer more than humans and all sorts of other things. So now we're moving to things like growing cells on a dish of human cells and trying to use that as a way of measuring stuff. Just to round that up. Have we got any exciting comments?
Our little COVID breaks. Everyone likes a little break from COVID, or an entire break if it wants to go away. Secondly, Chuckleberry said something, and it's gone. It's missing.
Yep.
Something about the dog. Wanted to know something about my dog, and I will answer you if you tell me who you are seriously without saying Chuckleberry as the answer.
Over to you, Lucy. Oh, video is gone. I'll see whether.
Welcome, Zach, as well. Start.
We've been disconnected from Facebook. Just quickly.
Is there any scope for that? Oh.
It should be reconnecting.
Yeah, it says sending.
Oh, and a couple of people have said, Sunil and Emily have said that the video is freezing up. And I was just like not talking. I was just like waiting until the video caught up.
Sorry, everyone. We've had really bad internet.
Hopefully by this time next week I'll have 5G. I'm in the process of getting it swapped across.
I love these comments. So good.
Facebook should be back now. Twitch should be back. So it turns out the government can't roll out vaccines or NBN. Just for everyone at home, you might be able to see me.
Yeah, they're not very good at rollouts. I actually made that comment to Meow the other day or yesterday.
Went 100 kilometers. Can someone put in how high he went? I don't think it was 100 kilometers.
And I've just had Nathan Waters' comment from last week in my head all week. I've just been like laughing about it every time I think about it, and it was like, who will be the first billionaire?
Right. We should run a tally. We should run a bet.
To the atmosphere. It wasn't Richard Branson. I think he landed safely. So.
My money's on
who's
Bezos.
Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk?
Bezos for sure.
50.
Yeah, I think it was 50. It was like it was high, but
Everyone hates him.
Bezos, yeah, because he treats his workers really badly. Like really badly, yeah. So
Yes, I agree.
According to what would NASA know about space?
80. That's pretty close. May not be perfect,
Because NASA's
flight
definition
space,
of
but if
space is
I went 80
80.
kilometers up, I'm telling everyone I went to space.
But in your heart, you know you didn't actually make
I
it.
went to space.
Okay, alright.
No,
so
actually,
we
you're
can
right.
go-
I would feel very guilty and then tell everybody
Yep.
I almost went to
We
space.
reckon only went 53 miles, but wait, what is miles?
We're offline. We're offline on everything, Lucy. We've just got cut off. I just had a look.
What does that translate to?
We've been cut off. Hold on. It says it's being cut off.
For the day, Facebook is not. Oh yeah, I see that now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super off. I'm gonna have to get 5G sorted by next week.
Coming back.